I began to, like, I remember I was just observing, I was watching what was happening. I was watching the god or goddess, whatever it was, the entity, just floating above it, just, placing things in the field, making sure everything's going according to plan. And the feeling that I got from this was that it was me. It was, I guess you could say, my higher self, my highest self. It was the aspect of me that was outside of this 3D reality. Welcome to the Void of Thought. I'm Reggie Dixon, also known as Razir, and I'm here to help you become the best version of yourself, while also helping to improve the quality of your life so that you can live the life that you came here to live. You ready? Let's get into it. As promised from my last video, today I'm sharing with you my deepest and most profound experience that I've ever had going to my void. And this experience, well, I just want to get right into it, really. I want to tell you the story, what happened during this experience, and then I'll give you the details, more of the details and my interpretations after I read it to you. So I have it all written down right here, and let us begin. So this was written, this experience took place on January 20th of 2021. So now basically about to be 3 years ago. And it hasn't really been something that was like really prevalent in my consciousnness until I rediscovered the notes on my phone that I wrote about this experience. And until then, I almost completely forgot about it. I don't know how or why, but it's coming back up into my field for a reason. So here it is. So I wrote, last night I discovered my quantum field. I was nearly in dream state when I visually saw and it felt like I physically experienced my field in real time. It was myself / God or some goddess sitting just above the field and aligning everything. So the field is a bunch of waves in the form of circles. So think of kind of like how ripples ripple out, kind of like that, but like in a flowing motion, circular flowing motion. So the field is a bunch of waves in the form of circles, and whatever is in the flow of the waves is what manifests in this reality for us. I was consciously choosing what to put into the waves of my field, and I could feel them beginning to take form in this realm of existence. I figured out how to manipulate the waves in my favor. I learned how to create different waves and how to form multiple waves at once, and how to change the direction of their flows. It was like a very light version of water. I could visualize anything I wanted, place it into the field, basically visualize it, drop it into the field, and then allow the waves to flow over the thing that I visualized. And finishing it out, I wrote, I know this is something that I can master and utilize in a great way. And then what I added to this, just when I wrote this down yesterday, is I just have to learn how to re-enter the state of consciousness. So this is, at least to my memory, the only time that I've had an experience like this, like going this deep into myself. And I remember correctly, I wasn't even trying to have an experience like this. Sometimes like it just happens to me where, like, as I'm going to sleep, it's either like some crazy super vivid lucid dream that I have, or an astral projection experience, or something like this where at the time I didn't really know what to make of it. It was just like, whoa, this happened. Because when I go to sleep, most nights I meditate before I go to sleep, so it helps me to be more lucid in my dreams. It helps me to consciously fall asleep so that I'm not just knocking out and just basically blacking out and then either waking up in a dream or just not realizing that I'm dreaming and just going through the entire dream unconscious. So I usually meditate, and this is what allowed this experience to happen, going this deep into my void. And this, like, just thinking back on this, like, I remember the visuals of it. I remember the feeling of being there. The visuals, it was like, I saw this, just like this giant being, just like levitating over this like very light blue, like almost like water, just field. It was like the field, to my memory, it was square, but the waves, they're going around in circles. They're like circular waves just flowing. And everything that was in the field was everything that was in this reality. Well, I don't know if it was like this entire reality or if it was just my own personal reality. But everything in that field I know pertained to me in some way, shape, or form. And I began to, I remember I was just observing, I was watching what was happening. I was watching the god or goddess, whatever it was, the entity, just floating above it, just, placing things in the field, making sure everything's going according to plan. And the feeling that I got from this was that it was me. It was, I guess you could say, my higher self, my highest self. It was the aspect of me that was outside of this 3D reality. Maybe it was my oversoul, I'm not completely sure. But this being, it felt like it was all of me. It felt like it was so for example, being here in this 3D form as a human, this is only a small fragment, a small aspect of our consciousness, of our oversoul, of our real conscious being that we are. So if we're here, we're not really consciously aware of everything that is going on to actually form and shape and run this entire reality. But when we get out of this reality, then we are, because we are those transcendent beings that we, in this lifetime that I'm growing into, that I know I'm growing into right now, but that we're all growing into as a collective as well. So I was able to see and witness how this reality is ran, at least from my own personal perspective. And as I was observing, I started to merge with the being that, the entity that I felt was me. So it felt like I was seeing and just it felt like I was the creator, literally the creator of my reality, everything bent to my will in that moment. But I wasn't thinking from a human perspective, because when you're in that state of consciousness, you're not thinking about small, trivial stuff that happens here in a 3D plane, right? It's more of you're thinking like a god, like an actual god would think. So you're not thinking about, man, I'm gonna put this Ferrari in this field, yeah, let that manifest for him. I'm gonna put this relationship, this significant other in this field, let that manifest for him. I wasn't even thinking about anything like that. I was thinking about the state of awareness and consciousness that I was in when I was in that state was, what can I place in my field that allows me to help him grow even more, to reach his full potential even better? Because that's what this is all about. You have to think about, if you're to be in this state of being, have the power of God for your own personal self, what would you do? Would you think about, the physical aspects of life, basically getting all the stuff that you wanted to get from a young age or as a young adult, however old you are? Or would you be thinking of, how can I help this aspect of myself grow and achieve his full potential so that he can be a god on earth, and not just get all the stuff? Because the physical stuff, this is why I know that you have to be responsible as a god. Because say, for example, if I would have chose to just manifest a bunch of physical things around me, say I personally, I want a Ferrari, well, I want multiple Ferraris, right? I love sports cars, I love supercars. I want to own them someday, have fun, and just, drive them for fun. But if I would have just, chose to manifest something like that in my life, then that would have served as a distraction, because I'd be happy that I have a Ferrari, but I wouldn't have the money in my bank account to actually, keep up with it, put gas in it, the maintenance and everything, right? I don't even have a, space outside in the front for a car like that. So that wouldn't have been smart. I would have had to completely restructure my entire life. But even then, would I really be fulfilling my sole purpose if I did something like that, to where if I manifested those riches and that wealth and those resources into my life? Honestly, no. In my heart and my soul, my intuition, it tells me no. It wouldn't have been beneficial for me. It would have been fun. It would have been great for a short while. It would have been like someone winning the lottery, but not knowing how to manage their money, so they just lose it all. They spend it on a bunch of frivolous things, supercars, yachts, mansions, whatever, but then they don't have any more money coming in, so all that stuff is just gone. So they have to sell it or it gets repossessed by the government, whatever the case may be. But they lose it all because they didn't know how to, they didn't have the level of consciousness and awareness and the knowledge and the wisdom to actually utilize that money to continue building and growing so that they can sustain, and not even sustain, but keep elevating from that lifestyle and elevating themselves from within that lifestyle. So what I did when I was in that state of my being in control of my quantum field, I could feel myself, like, I don't consciously remember exactly to the T what I put into my field, but I remember the feeling of putting stuff in my field that would help me along my journey, help me grow, help me learn the knowledge that I need to learn to actually, get everything that I want to get while fulfilling my soul purpose. So I know that I put things in my field in, like, say, like, experiences manifested through other people. So, like, I put, like, I didn't put certain people in my field, but I put myself in a position to connect with other, certain people so that I can, continue to grow and learn from them and grow, like, stuff like that, So that's the state of mind, that's the state of being that I was embodying, thinking and acting as a God. So, and real quick side note is that we're all elevated entities like that. We're all gods, we're all deities. We're just, in this human form, most of us are asleep. We don't really know our true power. So if you just instantly wake yourself up and then give yourself all the power, but without going through the actual process of learning how to utilize that power and learning yourself while having that power, then that's grounds for self-destruction. That's not even distraction at that point. That's just grounds for self-destruction. Because it's like, if you watch like superhero movies, like Marvel and like DC and all that stuff, like usually when they have a character who just gets blessed with powers instantly, they don't know how to use them, and they usually end up hurting someone when they begin practicing how to use them and everything. Like, I think of, like, my favorite show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think of when he first started learning how to firebend, and he wanted to go super fast, just speed through the lessons and everything. So he sparked his first flame, and then he started going crazy with it. Like, he started playing around and doing all these different tricks and stuff. And then he took it too far and he ended up burning Katara. He ended up burning the woman that he loved. And so I think of stuff like that, to where if you have all the power without the knowledge to use it, you're just going to hurt yourself or others. And so that's why you have to be responsible if you are to enter this state, which, when I figure out how to re-enter this state and I, gain some level of mastery over it, then I will be teaching this to all of you. But until then, I'm just telling you the mindset that goes into it, the level of consciousness and awareness that has to be properly utilized and practiced while in this state. Because if you don't have the responsibility, but you have all the power, again, that's just grounds for self-destruction. So while in this state, you have to understand that you have all the power over yourself. You have all the power within yourself, over yourself, in this 3D reality. So with that power, you have to kind of treat yourself like this 3D aspect, talking from the God perspective, as the God, as your higher self. You have to treat this 3D aspect of yourself kind of like a child. Give it certain things here and there, place them in the field so that they can be experiences and catalysts for growth, rather than you're just giving them the reward up front. You're just giving them the powers up front without teaching them, without them actually going through the lessons of how to actually utilize the powers properly so that they can become the best versions of themselves in every moment and help other people fulfill their soul purpose. You have to, place things in the field so that you go through those lessons, so that you're not skipping any steps, because if you skip any steps, you're just hurting yourself. It's like if you play sports, like, if you cheat yourself, it's going to show up in the game, right? So, like, if you're going through drills, but you're not going 100%, you're going like 75%, that's how you're going to play in the game. And if you try to go 100%, you might hurt yourself, or you might hurt your team by turning the ball over. It's not going to go as planned if you don't put in the maximum effort, if you don't practice how you play, or if you don't play how you practice, vice versa. Same thing, same mentality with this, I guess, quantum field state, I'll call it, I guess. So getting into your higher self, like, you have to practice that responsibility. It's like, it's so simple, but it's so difficult for a lot of people because we're so used to not having that we just want to have it like all at once, right? So if you like, deprive someone of food for like 3-5 days, then like if they don't know anything about fasting, if they don't understand, the importance of easing yourself back into, eating solid foods, cooked foods and everything, then that person is going to go from deprived to having like a whole buffet in front of them and just pigging out. But in doing that, they're going to hurt themselves because they took in way too many nutrients way too fast and the body's not used to it. That's not the correct nutrients that help their body, build itself back up after a fast, and they end up, hurting themselves in some type of way. So it's the same principle, same concept as learning ourselves and allowing ourselves to grow in the ways that we're naturally supposed to grow. Because that's all this life is about: growth, evolution, and transcendence through self-mastery. Because if you master yourself, you'll find that there is no endpoint. there really is no endpoint to self-mastery. Because when you learn to master yourself, it's always a continual motion. It's always a continual practice. That's why I refer to myself as a continually evolving master of self. Because even though I practice self-mastery every day, it's my lifestyle, it's what I do, it's what I am, I know that there's always more levels, there's always higher levels, there's always deeper levels to go. Transcendence, going up and down and out and in and out at the same time, right? So the more that you learn about yourself, the more that you learn there's more to learn. The more that you realize there's more to learn, the more that you become aware of, the more that you're aware of, the more that allows yourself to be conscious of what you're aware of. Because awareness is one thing. Awareness is seeing what's around you, but consciousness is understanding what you see around you. That's my breakdown of it. And so going back to this quantum field state, you have to exercise, it's almost like you're learning yourself as your higher self instead of learning yourself as this 3D version of yourself, right? So that's what I experienced in my experience with the quantum field, with my quantum field. So it's like, that was kind of like what's coming to me right now, actually, just being open channel for source. What's coming to me right now is that was kind of like just my introduction to my higher self. That was my introduction to what I am. But from this 3D perspective, it's so hard to actually conceive that and, just actually see that in the mind and actually understand that. Because when something brand new, say like you're introduced to a brand new concept, right? It's just totally brand new to you. You had no idea that it existed before, like 5 seconds ago. You had no idea that it existed. When you're introduced to something so new and so profound, you need to experience it in doses to actually, let the information ease into you so you can process it. And then the more that you process it, the more that you become aware of it, the more conscious you become of it, that's when the information can flow more and more and more. So I have a feeling that the more that I focus on this experience, the more that I reflect on this experience, the more that I allow my intuition to guide me into re-entering this state, the better I will become at entering the state and utilizing this skill, this practice for my advantage. But again, I had to learn through, honestly, that's another thing that's coming to me right now, is that I had to go through so many life experiences. Like I feel like what this was, oh wow, this is good. So what's coming to me right now is that the experience that I had, that I just shared with entering my quantum field, the things that I was placing in my field led me right back to this moment, right? I had to go through so many life lessons, so many major life lessons in order to learn certain things about myself, better patience, better understanding, more compassion, stuff like that, to where when I am able to receive the power that I really have as my higher self, I know how to utilize it. So this experience that I just shared literally led me back to this moment so that I can so I can go back into learning how to actually get back into that state and experience myself as my higher self. So, well, I really can't wait till I master this so I can share what I learned as far as entering the state goes with all of you. Because man, I feel like this is something that is majorly life-changing. Man, because I don't think I've heard of anyone else. Actually, I just watched the Ryan Cropper video. If you know who he is, you're in the know. He's really dope. He's a great teacher. I'm still learning how to astral project from him, but that was one of the things that initially got me to dive deeper into my into all my abilities, into just spirituality in general. So major shout out to Ryan Cropper. But he had a recent video talking about something that sounded very similar to what I just shared with you as far as my experience goes, where he was talking about more so like disconnecting himself from God, not in a bad way, but in a way to where like God / your higher self, in a way to like disconnecting yourself in a way to where you are praying to it. And then he was expressing that and explaining that by having that, small degree of separation, that allows, your prayers to manifest way better with much more ease. And so I recommend you go to his channel, watch that video too, because he is a great teacher. I love learning from him. But it sounds very similar to something like this experience that I had, because I was, looking at my higher self from the aspect of my 3D self, and then I merged with myself though, so I can experience what it was like to be my higher self, and then take that, take the memory of that experience back down here to this 3D version of myself, and then start applying the knowledge and the wisdom that I learned. So man, I would love to connect with him about this topic, because it feels like there's much more to learn and much more to be explored. Because I haven't heard of anyone talking about, for one, just the quantum field in general, like not that much. One of my teachers, Brother Yosef, he talks about it because he's had certain experiences going into the quantum realm. And I've had other experiences going into the quantum realm, which I think I will share at least one of them. Yeah, I just had one recently too. I didn't go into the quantum realm, but I met someone that came from the quantum realm. So I think I will share those. But man, it just feels like there's so much more to be explored, so much more to learn, so much more knowledge to gain, so much more information to be exposed to and process and learn, and turn that knowledge into wisdom. So yeah, I'm gonna end this video off right there. But when I have any updates on this, I will be sure to share it with you. So stay tuned. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, and if I can talk about it, I will. Because I talk from experience. I don't talk about, like things that I heard about from other people and then talk about it as if I know what I'm talking about. No. I like talking and speaking from experience. So that's how I keep it real with all y'all. So this is experience that I had 3 years ago, and I'm looking forward to having more experiences like this in the very near future. So that, I want to say, love y'all. I'm very grateful for you being here. And yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. You already know what to do. So just let me know if there's any more topics, any more things that you'd like me to talk about, cover. And I'm just open for discussion. So let's get to it. Let's build a community. I love y'all. Much love. Wholeness to you.